We all have a right to be proud of our state tonight. Thank you very much.
I guess they can take some consolation in the fact that they did something tonight by once again compromising, by once again reaching across the aisle, by once again abandoning the conservative movement.
Senator Thad Cochran celebrating his victory and Tea Party challenger Chris McDaniel refusing to concede defeat in the fiercely fought GOP Senate primary this Tuesday in Mississippi. And we're back now with the panel. Well, Cochran's victory in Mississippi is just the latest for the so-called GOP establishment. In fact, national Tea Party groups have spent around $40 million so far this year in the primary cycle and have yet to show a big win to show for all of that money. Karl, you wrote an article this week in the Wall Street Journal under the headline, National Tea Party Groups Take a Beating. What's happened to the Tea Party this year? And I suspect a lot of our viewers are asking, did you forget about Eric Cantor's big loss in Virginia?
Well, if you'd read the piece, you would have seen I did reference Eric Cantor's loss.
I did read the piece.
In fact, the principal
It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I didn't write the headline, but the principal distinction I was trying to make was between the national Tea Party groups, which have not had much success this year, and the local Tea Party groups, which have had an enormous impact. If you take a look at the so-called establishment wins, say, for example, Kentucky and Texas and South Carolina, where, quote, establishment candidates won a renomination, or the victories in Arkansas, Montana, South Dakota, West Virginia, North Carolina, and Oklahoma, where the establishment candidates won without serious opposition. The fact is that these victories were achieved by the so-called establishment candidates having strong support among some elements of the local Tea Party groups. We have seen this odd result where the national Tea Party groups have been weakened because they've made heavy bets and have come up losers in each and every one of them.
When you say the National Tea Party, who are you talking about?
Well, like Senate Conservative Fund, or the Tea Party Patriots, or the Freedom Works, or Club for Growth. Club for Growth said at the beginning of this season, we're going to primary 9 conservative Republicans in the House who are not conservative enough for their districts. 8 of the 9 escaped opposition altogether. And the one who got serious opposition prevailed, Mike Simpson of Idaho, about 2-1. So, but my point is this: these national groups are out of touch with the local groups who are involved. Now, Mississippi is the one outlier. There, the national groups and the local Mississippi groups were united behind Chris McDaniel, and there are going to be some long-standing wounds both in Mississippi and across the country as a result of Thad Cochran's amazing win. Think about this: 30 years ago is the last time we had a Senate primary in which there were more people voting in the runoff than voted in the primary, and I can't find a single instance where an incumbent senator came in second in the primary and won the runoff.
Brit, is Karl right? Has the so-called Republican establishment found a way to handle the Tea Party, whether in the national case just beating it and in the local case bringing them into the tent?
Well, that's one way of looking at it, but another way to look at it is this. We now have nationally a kind of Tea Party establishment. Those are the larger groups to which Karl is referring. They operate very much like these Washington-based operations that the Tea Party people complain about. And what has characterized the Tea Party at its strongest has been energized voters, grassroots voters, grassroots energy. That's what knocked off Eric Cantor. The local Tea Party, the national Tea Party groups took a pass on that one. A friend of mine, a guy I know who runs a PAC for the Tea Party Patriots, said that, yeah, we looked at that guy down there in Virginia and we liked him, but we'd made all our big bet down in Mississippi. Well, they lost in Mississippi, and the local Tea Party troops pulled the professor at Randolph-Macon across the finish line by a remarkable degree. So to the extent the Tea Party lives on, I don't think it's beaten. I think its energy is there. The Republican Party needs it. But I think these big, well-moneyed groups have constituted a kind of establishment of their own, and they're not doing very well.
Julie, I want to change subjects on you because Hillary Clinton continues to take heed on the money issue, money problems. And she makes a lot of money making speeches. Put this up on the screen. She was paid $300,000 for a speech at UCLA in March. And students at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas are asking her to reject the $225,000 she's getting for a speech she's going to be making there in October. And once again, she had to clean up the remark she made about she and her husband being dead broke when they left the White House in 2001. Take a look.
I shouldn't have said the, I think, 5 or so words that I said, but, you know, my inartful use of those few words doesn't change who I am, what I've stood for my entire life, what I stand for today.
Julie, what do folks you talk to at the White House and others in Democratic circles, Democratic insiders, what do they make of her problems on this issue?
They clearly feel like she got caught off guard by this issue, and it's hard to understand how she did get caught off guard, because this is an issue that comes up in every presidential campaign when you're dealing with candidates that have a lot of money. Mitt Romney, we just went through this. I think the hard thing for her is she has to find a way to change the narrative, and it seems like all of the information that comes out just feeds the idea that she is incredibly wealthy, that she can pull $300,000 for a speech. It's a pretty astounding figure, and they haven't figured out how they can, you know, say, I can make that much money, we've been very lucky, and I still, though, have empathy for you. I still can understand, you know, the plight of hardworking Americans. Somehow they have to figure out how to fix this.
Kirsten, the Washington Post got on this story this week, and they did a very interesting story. They figured out that Bill Clinton was paid $104.9 million for speeches in the first 12 years after he left the White House. Can Republicans use this to say both Clintons are out of touch with what regular folks are going through?
Just making the money is not enough to be out of touch. So, and I think that's true of a Republican or a Democrat. However, the things she's saying makes her seem out of touch. And so when you're referring to multiple houses while you're talking about how broke you were, that seems out of touch. The other comments that she made where she was sort of alluding to Mitt Romney, that she pays a different tax rate and so therefore it's not that big of a deal and she's not truly well off, makes her seem out of touch. And why this would be a surprise to them, this is what the Republicans did to John Kerry. It's no different. He was married to a very wealthy woman. They portrayed him as this very out of touch, senator. And so clearly they're going to do it to the Clintons again, and they should be prepared for it.
Thank you, panel. See you next Sunday. To be continued.